Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I am so excited to have you here with me today and with my phenomenal guests. I am so excited, and I have to tell you guys, the first time I ever talked to her, I was so enthusiastic and hyped up about what she's got going on in life and this amazing, well, one of her amazing businesses that she's got going on. So I'm really excited to dive into this and give you guys some backstory as well. So Samantha, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Hey, I am so excited. I am so excited to launch all this to give everybody this information. I love it when people come from the bottom up and have all these cool things kind of going on as well. So, do us all a favor then. Tell everybody who you are and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. So I'm Samantha Gold. I am the CEO and founder of two different companies, and one was truly born out of the other. The first is a children's clothing brand called Motette. That's Mottette, and you can follow us at Shop Motette on Instagram or shopmotette.com. But it's a children's brand that specializes in elevated prints, primarily sleepwear for babies and toddlers. We actually just launched a Mommy and Me collection this week, which I'm super excited about, but a big focus on bamboo and sustainability. And then because I had so much success building Motette and ramping and scaling very quickly, leveraging offshore support, I actually launched a virtual assistant agency where I help other founders also build out offshore support teams to be able to grow in a super cost-effective way.
How cool is that to know that one just led to the other and you're like, you know what? I think I've got a passion for both. We're just going to do both things right now and take off.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I love that you're doing the sustainable branding, as well with the bamboo clothing, which by the way, I will be buying something because my sister is having a little one in mid-October. And so this will be perfect timing for her, especially with the launch matching collection. So I am super excited about that. But I kind of want to just kind of start from the beginning and first touch base on the clothing, and then I've got some questions in regards to what it was like starting the VA side of stuff as well. But what made you decide that a children's clothing brand, a baby's how did that kind of become the niche?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was the CEO of a company called Elizabeth James The Label out of Charleston, South Carolina. So it's a women's clothing brand. And while I was there, I had two kids. So I have now a 3.5-year-old daughter named Blair and a son, Wesley, who's 2. And it was really my experience as a mom, feeling like children's clothes really were lacking in terms of that elevated style and sophistication that I wanted for myself. And to be able to have that for my kids as well, but in super simple, comfy day-to-day styles. I didn't want to always dress them in occasion pieces that, were going to break the bank, and they were going to wear one time and, get a stain on it and never wear again. So I wanted
Hmm.
things like, the zipper rompers that have the two-way zippers and the fold-over cuffs, pajamas, just go-to basics, but in elevated prints. And I felt like there was so much out there that were, cheesy, bold colors, cartoon characters, and it just didn't really align with my aesthetic. And so I really set out to create my own. And as you mentioned, sustainability, is a huge component of that as well.
I love that. And I love bamboo. Like, by the way, you guys, I don't know why it is so soft, but it is so soft. It is so soft. Like, I have bamboo sheets and like the whole nine. You have a bamboo pillow. Like, I love it. I don't know what about it makes it so comfortable and amazing. But it is definitely a favorite of mine. And I agree with you as well. Like, not that my kids are young anymore, but when it does come to kids' clothing, like sometimes it's a little like, oh wow, that's a lot. And I'm kind of like you. Like I've been on your website. I totally was stalking. I love the simplicity of it and how not necessarily neutral, but it's calming and it's nice and it's like, okay, so even if my little one is in a sleeper, like it doesn't scream that they're trying to go to sleep. Like they could wear this out occasionally and it's really beautiful. Like I love the stuff that you have on there. And I'm big on that too. I'm not a huge fan of, no offense anybody who loves their colors, like go you, okay? But that's a little like too much for me. I do that in my clothing as well. Like I'm very simplified. There's not like a bunch of bold stuff. But anyway, I love the bamboo. What made you decide that like bamboo was the direction that you were going to go?
Yeah, so bamboo, one of the other benefits is that it is hypoallergenic. And so I've suffered with
Oh,
eczema, and have a child that has some eczema issues as well. And so it doesn't irritate the skin, which is amazing. And oftentimes cotton does.
interesting.
So it's hyperallergenic, great for kids with skin issues, and obviously just super soft. And it's, temperature regulating, so they can wear it year round, moisture wicking, which is also great for, the mommy and me or women's pieces, because if you're postpartum and you're suffering from night sweats or you just, are someone
Yeah.
sweats at night or even going through like perimenopause or menopause, it's great because it has those moisture wicking effects as well, unlike things like traditional pieces like cotton.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Great. Now I'm gonna have to look for me and just give my sister the kids' clothes because I'm in perimenopause and I'm always looking for things that don't make me sweat.
Yes,
So
exactly. Exactly.
I
And that's
didn't
the
know
other thing
that.
with the mommy and me pieces. Like I've never been someone who's really into that. And I think a lot of that was because I was like, I wouldn't buy this for myself. So I wanted to
Mm,
create pieces that moms or women would buy, regardless of whether they bought the matching set for their kids. And so I think you'll see that too with the four prints that we launched with kind of timeless stripes and a beautiful floral. And everything is coordinated as well. So a mom could buy the blue stripe for her son and then the blue floral, and it's matching color tones. And so it coordinates
ooh.
across the different genders, or if you have a boy and a girl and you want them to be coordinated and not matchy, we have those options. So
Oh,
a lot of
I love
thought
that.
into it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, girl, you thought of everything. I love this. So now I have to ask you because when I think of even starting a clothing brand, like my brain goes in 50 different directions and all I can think of is, oh my gosh, that sounds like so much and so many things to like coordinate and put together. So give me some background. Like, how was that for you in that process? Because that just sounds like there are a lot of pieces and components and things that you were dealing with in 50 different directions to,
Yeah,
design it, to create it, to figure out where you're going to ship it, to now, like you say, you're talking to these bigger companies that you're going to and
right.
stuff like that. Like, holy cow.
Yeah. It is a lot, and I think it's cliche, but you have to just start. And so and trust the process, right? Like things are going to get figured out.
Hmm.
And also for me, something that's been a big component of my success has been joining, female entrepreneur communities, like Entreprenista. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. Um,
Yeah.
like resources where you can ask people for help and lean on people who've paved the way before you or maybe have expertise in these different areas. And so, again, I love the saying like everything is figure outable. You don't have to know everything right now. You just have to have the courage to be able to take risks and trust that it will, in time you'll be able to get there. But for me, I mean, the biggest or the place where I started was truly figuring out who was going to be my manufacturing partner. And so I started testing, actually tested about 11 different factories before making a decision to move forward with one, just to make sure
Wow.
that they really aligned in terms of the quality, certifications, sustainability components. And they really, ticked all of those boxes to be able to support the business and the growth. But again, that was kind of laying the foundation. And then from there, figuring out where I wanted to focus. I can be someone that wants to go all in. And so I did have a lot of SKUs to start. And then I ended up really peeling it back and starting with about 16 prints across sleepwear. And I ended up launching with two sweatsuits for boys and girls, and then two different dress styles. But I think keeping it simple to start, I think for me, I'm like, I want to do everything. But
Yeah.
again, there's the financial aspect of that as well. When you're launching
Yeah.
a product-based business, the biggest cost is inventory. And, you're having to pay those costs up front and you're not getting paid until the products sell, right? With that D2C model. And so, you need to be
Hmm.
able to think strategically about what it's going to cost, and do you have the funds to be able to support that? We actually sold our house in Charleston, South Carolina, right before I launched my business. And so those funds went into the startup cost for Motette.
Nice. Well, it wasn't that great timing. Like that's
Yeah.
phenomenal. And I love that you're self-funded. I think that that's huge because people are always looking for different options, right? Do I need to do this? Do I need to launch a crowdfunding campaign? Am I going to be able to do something that's on my own? So kudos to you, for being able to start in that direction. And I love that you took the time, to find what worked for you and matched all those boxes. I think that it's really important, when we're making decisions in business or in life that, we do kind of have a boundary, right? Like an outline of what we are looking for and make sure we're not selling ourselves short in that because, maybe something is cheaper or because we just want to get it done, like standing behind the values that we have put out as well. I think that that's huge because it speaks to what we're willing to deal with or put up with and what we're not. And it's interesting how that plays a huge part in you as a person, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're not honoring those values and you're not honoring the boundaries and the things that you have set, it comes back on you in the way that you feel like you are dealing with things or putting things out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just again, knowing that it's probably going to take more time and resources than you anticipated. I think, I wanted, when I first launched the business, I was like, oh, I'm going to launch it in 3 months. And took about a year for everything to come together. Because there's just so many different pieces, right? Like once you have the
Hmm.
manufacturing component, it's figuring out, okay, logistics in terms of shipping. My warehouse is in, Denver, Colorado, and I partnered with a third-party logistics company. But then you have, all of the branding, all of the marketing, your
Hmm.
strategy, direct to consumer. I quickly launched wholesale. And so there's just so many different components. And in the beginning, I was wearing all of the hats. And there's only so much time in the day. And I very quickly realized that I needed to bring in resources to support the business. But again, being self-funded, I didn't have a big budget to bring in an agency
Hmm.
or people locally or to hire someone full time. And so that was where I really turned to offshore support to really scale the business.
I love that. And so my question is, because I'd love to get into the, hiring offshore as well, but like as you were going through this, because right, you had a goal in mind, 3 months, 3 months, we're going to launch this. I love that because I'm the same way. And then I'm like, oh no. But as you were going through that and realize how many pieces and components that played into this, did you ever feel like you got into a space where like you felt like you were failing or you felt like you were really behind on it, or did you feel like you were able to kind of maneuver yourself through that to keep going, because that's 3 months to a year, that's a big difference.
Yeah, and I think entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. So I think every day there were
Yeah.
ups and downs, and it's like, this is amazing, I'm killing it. And then it's like, what was I thinking? Shut it all down. Um, so yeah, and I think that it does take a mental toll, and you have to be strong, and you have to be doing a lot, I think, just personally to sustain, the mental toll that it takes on you. I mean, for me, like sleep, diet, exercise, like those are all components of, being able to be a grounded, best version of myself, to be able to show up, as an entrepreneur, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, all the things. And so it's truly, and every day it's a roller coaster, honestly. But yeah, I think there was so much that went into just launching the business, especially in terms of, as I mentioned, the relationships with the factories. I definitely got frustrated because I would see these beautiful photos online that they would share, and it would be like, okay, this is the right fit. And then I'd get the sample and I'd think, okay, absolutely, this is not the direction that I want to go, or the quality wasn't there. So it
Mm.
wasn't necessarily that I felt like I was like failing, but it was just, it was just this discovery process that took a lot longer to really find the right fit. And I wasn't going to settle for something that I felt like, I wouldn't want to buy personally for my own children, and wasn't super proud to stand behind. If anyone's listening and they're, at the early stages of launching their own business and going through the sampling process, my advice would be to start with really small sample orders. I went all like, I would see these photos and be like, oh, this is it. So I'm going to order 25 pieces. And I would see one
No.
piece and realize that it wasn't the right fit. And so start small, just it takes time, right? Like a sample order could be, 30 to 45 days. And then, your bulk order could be another 90 days. And so all of this stuff, there's just a lot of time that goes into it. And so just trusting the process. But again, giving yourself kind of that leeway.
Oh, I love that. And I thank you for sharing that because I have zero clue, right, about that piece and component at all. And when you talk about again standing behind your values, and I love that you brought in this piece of, making sure that diet, exercise, and sleep was a major component, because I do think sometimes we get so excited and then like so locked in that we start letting some of those other things that do kind of keep us running, right, fall to the wayside, because they're like, yeah, but I've got to do this and I've got to get that. So kudos to you for finding the balance in that, because I do think that that's something that anyone that is going in for business or making a big change in their life, sometimes we let that happen. I mean, I know I've done that several times, and then I'm like, crap, I fell off again and back on to
Yeah.
it's really interesting how, when you build your routines, you think that they're there, but then when you get like this passion for something, it's like that's all you want to focus on. And it's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then there's these pieces, and it come back to these pieces.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And I'm actually 7.5 years sober as well. And so, being
Congratulations.
in recovery and sobriety, and my husband's also in recovery, and that's how we met. That's a huge part of who we are, and, the foundation of our, just personal lives and business. It's really goes back to kind of the principles of AA in general. And so I have to prioritize that too. But that allows me to also have relationships with people where I'm open and honest, and I can call a friend and say, oh my gosh, I had this happen at work today in the business. I'm really, overthinking it, or stressed, or feeling overwhelmed, and share and have those people where I can lean on and open up to, so it doesn't feel like I'm on an island and alone, because I think entrepreneurship itself can be really isolating, but it's really important that I have those connections to be able to just share what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Congratulations. Because I know that I have several friends that are in that same space, and we talk about it all the time, and the things that they think of, and just, the routines and the stuff that has kept them in the direction that they want to go. And, for someone that hasn't been in that particular, aspect, it's really interesting to see, what you guys do have to do, and how you do have to have yourself focused and making sure you're paying attention. And like you said, making sure that you're surrounding yourself with the right people, which honestly I think is something that every person should think about, right? Like, yes, entrepreneurship 1000%, because you definitely feel like you're on an island by yourself. And even when I was in like my medical career and stuff, I look back now and I realize that I really didn't have myself surrounded with people that really had my interest at heart, and that really does make a difference in how you live your life, how you live day to day, the things that you do get into, the things you decide not to do. And it's really interesting because you don't think that, people have that much of an influence. You're like, oh no, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. But there really is that piece of you that's like, but we want to belong with these people. So thank you for bringing that up because I do think it is extremely important to make sure that you have a really great support system and the right people around you so that when you do have hard
Yeah,
days, you can talk to someone and you can feel supported in that way.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to dive into this other piece. So, okay, so we're going through the motions, we're getting things going. We realize that we don't have a ton of money to just throw at agencies and everything. So you get this idea of, hey, let's just go offshore. Let's see what happens. Where did that journey begin and how did that go? Because I know that some people are like, hey, I'm going to go overseas or I'm going to go overshore, offshores, and then they're like, I had a horrible experience. I've been blessed. I've had some really amazing experiences, but I
Yeah.
love your take. Like, how did you start that process and like what did that look like for you?
Definitely. So, about 6 months prior to launching Motette, which officially launched in March, so we're about like 4 or 5 months in, I decided to build the brand in public. And so, what that meant was I launched my Instagram account and I started sharing on a daily basis what I was working on behind the scenes. And immediately I had, moms from really all over the United States reaching out, connecting with me, sharing their insights. And so what happened super organically was I built what I call my inner circle. And so it's grown now to about 3,500 moms who are a part of this. But I was really trying to build brand awareness and build my followers. And so I was reaching out and sending direct messages every day to, it started with like 50 moms a day. They'd be following other, brands or accounts that fell within a similar age group to my target demographic. And I started just messaging moms. And and it really was amazing. I started to get these women who were following the brand and sharing their insights and truly helping me co-create it before launching. But I was like, this is not sustainable. I was spending like 3 hours a day in
Hmm.
Instagram DMs. And so that was honestly my first hire. I had a friend who'd recently hired someone offshore from the Philippines. She shared with me the job board and the information. And so I set out to hire someone to help me manage my inner circle and grow my Instagram following through community outreach. And honestly, I had so much success with that for every other need with the business, I started to bring someone on. And so it was like, okay, now I want to set up my email flows for email marketing. Can I hire someone with, Klaviyo skills or graphic design skills? And
Hmm.
it was, okay, we've launched and now I want to grow wholesale. Can I hire someone who's going to help me drive, wholesale retailer relationships, going to look up, contact information of high-end children's boutiques across the United States and really leveraging my background in sales. I spent about 12 years in the tech world, 8 years of those with Salesforce, really working my way up from the ground up and then ultimately leading different sales teams. And I will say, like, I think the biggest thing that has served me well in terms of these endeavors today is truly my sales background. Being able to, whether that's like pitching Motette or pitching my, VA services or
Yeah.
my or even like building out all of these templates now for wholesale outreach. And now what I do with my VA business, and I think this is the biggest differentiator because as you mentioned, Kat, people have had like really bad experiences with VAs in talking to these entrepreneurs. It feels like the biggest challenge was because there was a lack of onboarding, training, resources to really set that person up for success. And
Hmm.
so I have a totally different model where I work closely with the founder, meeting them where they are and working with them on the strategy and figuring out where their biggest challenges are, where they're really in the weeds, and what's going to move the needle for the business. And so that could be, again, that could be with Instagram, that could be with just a general VA, with customer service, that could be meta ads, they're paying an agency, could also be like they really want to drive PR for their business, but they don't want to pay $5,000 to a PR agency. Uh,
Yeah.
Through offshore support, I've been able to secure features in Forbes, on Fox News. I just had an interview with Business Insider that's coming out in a couple weeks. I'll be on the cover of a Chicago magazine in November. Different parenting and mom outlets, and all of that PR has been driven by offshore support. So I write the pitches. It's typically like a sequence of 3 to 5 emails that we're sending out. We're hitting them up on editors on LinkedIn, on Instagram. And now I'm basically replicating that success with clients. And it happened super organically, especially because I'm a part of these groups like Entreprenista, where I had female founders say, wait, like you're growing 300%. You sold out your debut collection. Like, how are you doing this? And can you help me do this with my own business? And so that's essentially how Atlas Row was born. And again, it's just a super cost-effective way to help other founders grow and scale and get out of the weeds and be able to give them more time back, right, in their day to focus on their
Yeah.
families, their personal lives, and feel less overwhelmed at a much more affordable price point.
Yeah, and you're also giving people the space, right, to focus on what they really want to be able to do because not everybody wants to be in the PR space or have to be the one to pitch people or be the one to make sure that we're following up with all that or, building stuff on online on your content and stuff. I applaud you for doing content every single day on Instagram because I have to remind myself sometimes I'm like, oh man, that was really good. I should have been on there. So we're not meant to do all the things all the time at a super high efficient level. And so I love that you figured that out more in the beginning of like, hey, I know this is what I want to do and I have some skill sets for here and it would be really great to bring in additional support because I think I can grow even more exponentially. And then in the process of that, you fell into this wonderful pocket of like, I can also help other people now with being able
Yeah.
to figure this out. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Thank you. And it's truly because I now have 8 women who are supporting Motette across all areas of the business to be able to give me more time back in my day to now do this, consultancy VA work and help other founders. But if I didn't have that support, there's no way I'd have the time to be able to do that. But it's incredible. I now have, 22 clients that I'm supporting, everything from a nonprofit who's getting ready to launch, or they're scheduled to have a gala in October, and we're helping them, drive sponsorships and attendees, to a non-alcoholic wine brand, which is super cool.
That's cool.
All different types of businesses we're supporting.
I love that. Now I have to ask. So, okay, we're getting people, we're figuring it out. When it comes to you finding people that you feel like fit what you are needing, is there a specific process? Are there things that you think people should be more aware of, questions that maybe they should be asking so that we are having that kind of experience where we know where that person is going to fit in? Obviously, we, as the person on the other end, should really have our stuff together as well. But a lot of times we're so overwhelmed. We're like, I just need someone to come in and fix all the things. And that's never the right time to bring people in. But on the other side, I do think that there are certain questions and things that we should be having a conversation with when we're looking to hire. So do you have any pointers on that end when somebody's looking to expand?
Yeah, I think it's like getting really clear on your needs. When I meet with founders, oftentimes I'll say to them, like, start documenting day to day what you're doing. And anything that's a repeatable process is really, it would be really great to bring someone in to support, right? And I really leverage technology tools like Loom, for instance, for training
Mm-hmm.
resources. And so I'll say to someone as we're preparing to onboard a new hire, start to record yourself doing this task, talk out loud, leveraging things like ChatGPT. Once you have a Loom video recorded, you can literally copy and paste that transcript, put it right into ChatGPT and say, create a standardized operating procedure for me based on this transcript. And it will
Ooh.
literally spit it out, right? And so the biggest thing, whether you're hiring someone offshore or locally, is having, training and onboarding to set them up for success. I think oftentimes that's where the biggest gap is, where people bring someone in and don't have a good experience. It's because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't necessarily have the tools in place or processes in place to be able to support them. I'd also recommend like starting small. I mean, I had a client who started with 5 hires at once. And I really wouldn't recommend that, right? Because you have to know that that's going to also be a lot of time on your hands. You have to manage these people. And so, again, a lot of people don't have leadership and management experience. And so I really
Hmm.
help them with that too, given I have, over a decade of leadership experience. And so what that actually looks like is, me working with them, typically it's about, a 30 to 60 day onboarding process where I'm kind of co-managing and leading that individual with them and giving them feedback and direction alongside them so they have this true partnership.
Hmm.
They haven't done that before. And so it's about offering them that support. Another recommendation I have as you're going through that hiring or interviewing process is giving them some tasks, right, to be able to test their abilities in the role. And so if it's a creative role that I'm hiring for instance, like a graphic designer, I'll say, here's my brand kit, create a reel for me based on these clips. And make it 20 seconds long and give them some direction, but actually test their skills. Or it could be, an Instagram post with some, graphics on it, something like that. It could even be, honestly, for my, if I'm hiring for a PR role or a sales role, I'll say, craft an email to a customer or an editor, and make it compelling and tie it back to the article that we're, referencing. For instance, it could be like, Kat, I saw that you recently highlighted your top, toddler brands. I wanted to connect with you because I'm the CEO and founder of Motette, an up and coming children's brand. Like, make them actually craft those messages to be able to test their skills specific to the role that you're hiring for. So those would be some pointers that I'd have.
Ooh, I love that. That's super, super smart. And thank you for the I love Loom video. Loom is like that is my go-to. And I am a talker as well. So like anytime that my VA needs anything, I'm like, hold on, give me 2 minutes. And I just send like this little video
Yeah.
to walk her
Oh,
through.
great.
But it's phenomenal. It's a really great tool to be able to use. But I've never thought about taking the transcript of that and popping that into Chat GPT to create your SOP. So, ooh, nugget, in case anybody's paying attention, who is like, I know how to do my role, but I don't know how to tell somebody else to do my role and follow procedures. That is super
Yeah.
smart. And I'll say the other one that I love to use as well is Trello. I am huge at having like I have a task management board on there so I can put tasks on there with deadlines and detail and different stuff and then my VA can do the same thing. And I also think that that kind of gives me for someone that has been a control freak for a long time in her life, a little bit of a sense of relief, right? Because you're like, okay, I can see where everything is at. I can see what things are being done. And then if I notice that something is past due, I can reach out and say, hey, what's going on? And I think that
Yeah.
that is super helpful, especially for people that maybe don't have the leadership and the management skills. I was in an office administrator and stuff. So say I'm used to kind of managing, but that is a super easy way for you guys to be able to just kind of keep an idea on what's going on. Because the one thing you don't want to do is just hand everything over and go, cool, I saw this stuff. It looks like you got it. We're good, right? I'm going to go over here. You still want to make sure that you have communication. You still want to make sure that you have follow up. I don't mean micromanaging. Nobody likes to be micromanaged. So you have to let people do things their way, but also being aware, like you said, especially in that like first 30 to 90 days of like, okay, are we getting things done? Are we staying on task? Are things falling behind? Are they doing really good at being able to stay in the deadlines that are put here to give you an idea of what's going on? And then, of course, making sure that you're checking that on a regular basis because people's lives change as well, right? Something could have happened, somebody got pregnant, like things shift, and you want to make sure that you're aware of that when it comes to the people that you're working with because ultimately they're also humans, right? And so we need to be aware of
Right.
that. And their culture is very different than ours. I love learning about, I have two that are from the Philippines, and I love learning about how their culture works and the things that they need and being accustomed to, like, oh, okay, cool. I can do that for you. You need like these days because you have this going on. That's totally fine. I think that we get kind of stuck in the way that we do things. We're like, all right, everybody does it this way. So I have really enjoyed being aware of that and learning from that too, of like, okay, their culture is different, what they value is very different, and just making sure that I'm taking that into consideration
Yeah.
as well when it comes to hires.
Yeah, and I think along those lines, like you brought up a couple of good points, it's really important to set clear expectations. And so that's something that I work very closely with clients on. Like, what does success look like for you? And let's document that. We use, similar to Trello, we use something called Basecamp, which is just a centralized place. Like
Yes.
user friendly. So I set up like a project for each client, right? And then in there we have all the shared documents, resources, messages, tasks, schedules, so that everyone is on the same page and up to speed in real time. The other thing that I have the VAs do is they send a daily report of what they accomplished for that day. And I think that
Ooh.
gives just like peace of mind to the clients as well, because they can see, okay, they added 20 new contacts, they sent, 40 emails, they responded to 10 DMs, right? So it's very
Hmm.
clear in terms of what they accomplished. And then they'll put in there, for instance, if there's like any messages that came through on Instagram where they want the client to respond directly, they'll list those out. And so it's just great to have that kind of ongoing communication back and forth. But again, that starts with having those clear expectations and those KPIs in place so that everyone knows what success actually looks like.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I love that. I love the daily reports. That's super awesome as well, especially when you're getting
Yeah.
very specific and you're scaling like to the level that you are. So,
Yeah.
with all the crazy things that you have going on and all the goodness, where do you kind of see all this going? Do you have a plan? Do you have goals? Like, what does the future look like for Samantha?
Well, in terms of Motette, we're having some conversations with some bigger retailers. So that would be incredible to be able to get in with a big retailer. We're already in 35 boutiques, which has been awesome. And we only opened up wholesale about 2 months ago. And again, that's all been driven by offshore support. So looking to continue to grow wholesale, also direct to consumer. And then in terms of Atlas Row, honestly, I plan on expanding the team. So right now, I do a lot of the work in terms of, business development and taking client calls, and then also managing the strategy and the onboarding process. I have a recruitment manager that does all of the recruitment, and then I do the final screening. But I'd love to grow that team and bring someone in who's actually managing clients on an ongoing basis in terms of that onboarding and being kind of that day-to-day touch point from an account management perspective. And so really continuing to grow and scale. And yeah, I can't wait to support more businesses. I think that's truly where my passion lies, is in the strategy and having these conversations and getting super creative. I absolutely love to do that and collaborate with other entrepreneurs. And I learn something new every day too.
I love that. Now, if there was one thing that you can give people a piece of advice on, one thing that you like wish you would, or two things, you can go with two. But one thing that you wish that people like were aware of if they're in any process that is similar to this, what would that be?
I think, some strategies that people are always like really interested in when I talk to them about it, it's definitely this community outreach strategy. And I think if you're not having personal conversations with your customers, whether that's your service-based business or a product-based business, you need to start doing that. And so Meta had an interesting stat that DMs convert 6 times more than Instagram posts and reels. And so if you're not in the
Ooh,
DMs with your audience, get in the DMs, because it's worth it. And I would say about like 80% of my sales actually come from that versus even Meta ads. Like it outperforms any other marketing channel. And
wow.
so get in your audience's DMs. That's my advice.
That is amazing. I have not heard that. So, all right, a little gold nugget there. I hope you guys are paying attention. Samantha, tell everybody, how can they follow you? How can they connect with you on either one of your businesses? And I know you also have a freebie for everybody as well. So give us all the juicy details.
Yes, absolutely. So, Real Chat 20, use that promo code to shop Motette. As I mentioned, we just launched women. So, even if you don't have little ones at home, Real Chat 20 is your discount code. And then in terms of Atlas Row, it's theatlasrow.com. Check out our website. You can book a free introductory call with me. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn as well. My name is Samantha Gold. And then shopmotette.com is our clothing brand's website as well.
Yes, and of course, we'll have all that information in the chats. By the way, you guys, it is a 20% discount. So, like, get your butt over there now and go get the soft, cute things, like right now. I'm just saying. Samantha, do you have anything you would like to leave the audience with? A quote, a piece of advice, anything like that?
I think the biggest thing is, and this comes from AA, faith over fear, right? Lean into trusting the process. Don't let fear stop you from what could be incredible and around the corner for you if you just take that risk.
Oh, I love it. And something you said in the very beginning, which I absolutely loved, was everything is figure outable.
Yeah,
That is such,
exactly.
I love that so much. So, to everybody else out there, I hope you guys got some amazing takeaways. Samantha, thank you so much for all of your knowledge and your insight and sharing your journey and where you are taking your business as well.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
You are so welcome. To everybody else. Oh, like, okay, first off, you need to go get your jammies and everything so you can be super cute, especially if you have little ones. Go get your stuff so you can be matching. Bamboo is amazing if you have never had it or used it. So, just FYI there. And then, of course, reach out to Samantha for any of those business needs too. We'll have everything in the show notes. We'll make it super easy for you to connect with her. And I just want to remind you, listening to Samantha's journey and everything that she's been through from sobriety to building this company to now have a second company, like everything is, as she says, figure outable. Everything has a way. You just have to be able to push past that fear to get to where it is that you're wanting to go. And that passion and that drive does really come from things that you really feel from your heart is what you are called to do, not necessarily just the things that you think you're good at or what everybody else has told you. So be aware of your circle, be aware of your support group, and put yourself in spaces where you can be in front of more people, like Samantha saying, these circles and these groups and these communities that will help you grow as well. And until next time, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. Catch you later. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable